Ever feel like you're kind of, drowning in all the financial advice out there?
Yeah, it could be a lot.
You want to be smart with your money, you want to like feel in control, but where do you even start? It can be super overwhelming.
Totally agree. It's like this dense jungle of information out there,
Yeah.
Weeding through it all can be, well, pretty intimidating.
But that's why we're here, right? Consider this your financial machete. We're going to cut through the noise.
Exactly. We're cutting
Go for
through the
that.
complexity, taking a deep dive today, you know, getting into personal financial planning.
That's right. It might sound a little daunting at first,
It does.
but really it's like, think of it as building a strong foundation, brick by brick, step by step.
I like that analogy. It's about creating a solid base for your financial future, one step at a time.
Exactly. And lucky for us, we've got a pretty awesome guy to help us along the way.
Oh, yeah? What about that?
We're looking at U.S. Bank's 5-step guide to personal financial planning.
U.S.
Uh-huh. And don't worry, we're not going to make you read the whole thing. We've gone through it and pulled out the essential insights,
The good stuff.
the need-to-know stuff to help you build your own financial roadmap.
Love that.
Yeah.
So no matter where you are on your financial journey, whether you're, I don't know, just starting your career, dreaming of buying a house, whatever it is.
Or maybe you've been doing this for a while and you just want to, check in and make sure you're on track. These fundamental principles, they're solid.
Timeless,
Yeah.
even. So what's the first step?
Step number 1, it's all about assessing your financial situation.
Okay, so let's unpack that.
The guide makes it crystal clear. It all starts with honesty. Got to take an honest look at where you stand today. No judgment, just facts.
Facts.
So that means income, savings, and, maybe the toughest one to face, spending habits.
Ooh, spending habits.
Mhm.
That's a big one. It's funny, a lot of people avoid this initial assessment. Like,
Mm.
they're almost scared of what they might find.
I get it.
But think of it this way. It's like, before you go on a road trip, you got to check the map.
Right. Sense.
Same thing with your finances. You need to understand the landscape before you can plan your route effectively.
So true.
And sometimes those seemingly small expenses, like grabbing coffee every day or those quick lunches, they can really add up. More than you think.
You're telling me. And the guide actually gives some great examples of what you should be factoring in. It's not just the big stuff like rent or mortgage and, transportation.
Right.
We're also talking about groceries, all those subscriptions we seem to accumulate,
Streaming services, the gym memberships.
loan repayments, and then, of course, there's that big category, discretionary spending, all that fun stuff, entertainment, hobbies, random shopping sprees.
I know a thing or two about random shopping sprees.
So the guide, they have this great suggestion. They say, get into the details. Go back and review your recent paychecks, those monthly bills.
And bank statements.
Yeah, even those little receipts you find in your wallet, they can offer clues.
They can be like little time capsules.
Exactly. But it's not just about looking back.
Right, you can't change the past.
The guide also emphasizes tracking your expenses moving forward.
So get a system going.
Yeah. Use a spreadsheet, budgeting app, whatever works for you.
Or just your bank's online tools, which can be really helpful.
It's all about getting a real-time view of your spending, being more aware.
Awareness is key. That forward-looking view allows you to see those patterns. You can adjust, you can adapt, you can make choices.
So the key takeaway here from this first step, it's about taking a snapshot of your current financial habits.
Love that. A snapshot.
You don't need to go back and analyze, years of transactions.
You don't have to get lost in the weeds.
Just focus on the recent past and the present. That gives you a starting point.
A manageable starting point, which is
Oh.
important. So we've got our snapshot. We see where we are. Where do we go from here?
Well, once you have a good grasp of your current financial situation, then it's time for step number 2.
Lay it on me.
Setting personal financial goals. This is where it gets exciting. This is where you get to dream a little.
Ooh, I like dreaming.
This is about figuring out what you really want. Your aspirations, your big dreams, the little things too.
So turning those aspirations into like concrete financial targets.
Exactly. And, the guide, it gives some examples. Buying a house, traveling the world, giving back to your community, planning for retirement.
Classic goals for sure.
But the cool thing is, your list might look totally different, and that's the point. It's about what truly matters to you.
What gets you fired up?
And here's a tip from the guide that I really love. They say, add a why to each goal.
A why.
Yeah. It's about finding that personal meaning, that emotional connection, because that can really boost your motivation.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So instead of just, save for retirement, it's Save for retirement so I can travel the world and spend more time with my family.
Exactly. That deeper connection, it makes it so much easier to stay focused, especially when things get a little tough.
Makes sense. Like having that emotional anchor, that reminder of why you're doing this, that can really help you stay the course when you're tempted to, I don't know, impulse buy a new pair of shoes.
Happens to the best of us.
It happens.
And the guide also introduces this idea of buckets.
Buckets, like for holding water.
Not quite. Think of them as categories for your different goals.
Okay, categories.
So you might have a short-term bucket for things like an emergency fund, you know, just in case life throws a curveball.
Super important.
And then you'd have separate buckets for those longer-term goals, retirement, maybe a down payment on a house, starting a business, whatever it is.
Okay, so you're organizing and prioritizing. Makes sense. Different timelines, different levels of, I guess, urgency.
Exactly. And when it comes to actually, using your savings to fund these goals, the guide suggests you might want to focus on those immediate or short-term goals first.
Get those squared away.
Yeah, because you have more time to build towards those long-term goals. Plus, that emergency fund, that gives you peace of mind, like a safety net.
A safety net, absolutely. You're not
Yeah.
trying to tackle every single financial goal all at once. That's a recipe for overwhelm.
No one needs that. All right, so we've set some exciting goals. Now what?
Now we get to the nitty-gritty.
Step 3 is all about creating a plan that reflects the present and the future. And this is where we get into budgeting.
Ah, the dreaded B word.
But here's the thing. The guide doesn't frame it as this restrictive, no fun allowed thing.
That's good because no one wants to feel deprived.
It's more about empowerment. It's about taking control and making your money work for you.
Okay, I like that spin on it.
And remember that snapshot we took in step 1? That becomes your roadmap.
Right, our starting point.
You can clearly see your fixed expenses, like your rent or loan payments, and then you've got your more flexible lifestyle costs, like eating out, entertainment.
So you're breaking it all down, seeing where your money's actually going.
Exactly. And that awareness, it's the first step to making informed choices. Once you see where your money is flowing, you can start making adjustments. Free up some resources to dedicate towards those awesome goals we talked about.
I'm starting to feel empowered already.
Me too. But the guide emphasizes honesty during this step, like brutal honesty.
Oh yeah, you got to be real with yourself.
You need to be realistic about your lifestyle, what you truly value, and how much you can actually save without feeling like totally miserable.
That's huge. Because there's no point in creating a budget that's so strict that you just immediately rebel against it.
You're setting yourself up for failure.
Exactly. And another thing the guide mentions is lifestyle creep. It's so easy to fall into that trap. Your income goes up and suddenly you're spending more without even realizing
Oh,
it.
I'm so guilty of that.
Me too.
Yeah.
But that's why that awareness is so crucial. And the guide, they actually suggest building fun into your budget,
Hmm.
which I love that.
Right. Like, don't deprive yourself entirely. That's just not sustainable.
No one can live on rice and beans forever. You got to enjoy life a little, right? A budget shouldn't feel like a punishment. It's a tool.
I like that. A tool to help you get where you want to go. And as the guide wisely points out, every budget is personal.
Super personal.
What works for me might not work for you. It all depends on your income, your values, your lifestyle, your dreams.
Okay, so we've assessed, we've set goals, we've created a plan, a budget that actually works for us.
Yeah.
Now, how do we make those goals happen?
Step 4, funding your personal goals. Time to put those plans into action.
Let's do it.
The guide does a great job of explaining the difference between saving and investing.
Two important concepts for sure.
So generally speaking, saving is for those short-term goals.
Vacations, emergency fund, that sort of thing.
That's right. Building that emergency fund, that should be a priority.
Yeah.
Ideally you want 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses tucked away.
Just in case, right?
Exactly. Now, when it comes to those longer-term aspirations, things like retirement, maybe that down payment on a house, the guide emphasizes investing.
Makes sense.
And here's what I found super encouraging. The guide says it's never too early to start investing.
I love that they emphasize that because sometimes people think, oh, I don't have enough money to invest, or I'm too young to worry about retirement.
Totally. But even if you're just starting out, even if you have a small amount to invest,
It all adds up.
they highlight the power of compound growth.
Oh, yeah, that's magical. It's like the returns you earn, they then generate their own returns. It snowballs over time.
The earlier you start, the more time that snowball has to grow. It's like planting a seed.
The tiny seed that becomes a mighty oak.
Exactly. And for beginners, the guide specifically mentions employer-sponsored retirement plans, like a 401k.
Ah, the 401k, a classic.
They're often the easiest way to start investing. Plus, you might get those employer matching contributions.
It's money.
Pretty much. And they're often pre-tax contributions, so that can save you some money on taxes too.
That's always a nice bonus. But I know investing can seem, well, a little scary for some folks, especially if you're new to it.
It can be. But the guide actually offers some really reassuring advice.
What do they say?
They frame it as a learning journey.
You're going to learn as you go.
And they emphasize patience. The market's going to fluctuate. There will be ups and downs.
That's part of the game.
But if you stay focused on those long-term goals, you'll be okay.
Keep your eyes on the prize.
And do your research. Understand your own risk tolerance. That's important too.
Absolutely. So we've got our plan. We're funding it. We're being patient. What's the final piece of the puzzle?
Step 5. And this might be the most important one of all.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's all about monitoring your progress. Because life changes, right?
Life is constantly changing. Nothing stays the same forever.
Exactly. So your financial plan, it can't be this static document that just sits in a drawer. It needs to be a living, breathing thing.
So it needs to evolve, just
Yeah.
like we do.
Right. It needs regular checkups, adjustments. Because your goals might change, your income might change, your circumstances might change.
Makes sense.
So the guide recommends setting a recurring check-in, maybe an annual review,
Once a year.
or whenever a major life event happens, new job, marriage, kids.
Big changes.
Yeah. And during this review, you want to look at your expenses, make sure your budget's still working,
Keep an eye on those.
check your financial accounts, any important documents you might have, like estate planning documents,
If that's relevant,
and of course, revisit those goals, those short-term and long-term goals.
make sure everything is still aligned.
Mhm.
You're still working towards what you really want.
And they also mention, sometimes it might be helpful to talk to a financial professional.
Oh, yeah, someone who really knows their stuff.
They can offer a fresh perspective, help you see things you might not have considered.
Spot those opportunities for optimization.
Exactly. And the guide, they end this last step on a really positive note. They emphasize that being proactive and consistent with your financial planning,
That consistency is key.
it can make a huge difference down the line. It's about thoughtful preparation. It's about sticking to your budget. It's about being engaged with your financial picture.
So you can align your finances with your, big dreams.
Exactly. It's powerful stuff.
It is.
So let's just recap those 5 key steps. Step 1, assess your current financial situation.
Snapshot time.
Step 2, define your personal financial goals.
Get those dreams down on paper.
Step 3, create a plan that reflects both the present and the future.
Budget time.
Step 4, fund those goals through saving and investing.
Make that money work for you.
And step 5, monitor your progress and make adjustments as needed.
Life is a journey, and so are your finances.
That's a great way to put it. And by understanding these 5 fundamental steps, you're on your way. You have a solid foundation in personal financial planning.
You're well on your way to feeling confident and empowered about your financial future.
Exactly. And before we go, I want to leave you with a thought. Think about that financial goal that's most important to you right now. What's one small action you could take today to move yourself closer to it?
It could be just a few minutes of research or setting up a recurring transfer.
Any small step in the right direction.
Sometimes those small steps are the most powerful.
I love that. So I hope this deep dive has been helpful. I hope it's given you some valuable insights and, maybe even a little boost of confidence as you navigate your financial journey.